Good evening. The name of this program is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it's coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, Channel 23 Educational TV, and also from YouTube, Let's Live with Thurman Greco. And we've got a special guest this evening, and you can see her on the table. And we have been having so much fun with her, and it's taken weeks to get her here because she doesn't travel in the snow, and one time this feeding schedule wasn't right, and we've had all these things. But now, this evening, this week, everything is just right. And she is charming.
Yeah, that's a good word for her.
She's a love.
She is.
Her energy's very gentle.
Yeah.
She's a very gentle snake.
Yeah. She's a good first snake for somebody if for somebody to meet that doesn't like snakes.
If she is a first snake to meet, would she be a first snake pet?
I don't think this one in particular would be a good first snake pet, like as a species, and the reason for that is because their temperaments can differ so wildly. Some are born with the immediate defensive personality where they have a new thing in front of them and they become defensive, they become aggressive, they want the new thing to go away. And then there's ones that are born like her where they have something in front of them and they're curious and they want to check it out and they want to see if it's warm and if it's comfortable and see if they can associate it with something pleasurable. But that's more like her.
So you did not get her as a baby snake.
She was small. I don't know exactly how old she was because I don't know how well they cared for her. But she was about 1.5 feet, which is only a little bit bigger than she would be after just being born. They're probably born at around 1 foot long. So she wasn't too much bigger than a newborn. But if they didn't feed her well, she could have been anywhere from a year to 2 years old. But I've had her for about 3.5 years, and
so she's about 5.
And she's grown, yes. So she should be about 5.
Well, look at her. How long is she?
I'd say she's about 5.5 feet long.
She's like tripled her size.
She has tripled her size, yes.
Since you got her.
Yep.
Do you think, I want to go back to this now before I forget. You got her and she's very open, like she was very open with me, sniffing around, and then when she sniffed my cat, she kind of backed up. Mm-hmm. Do you think it was because there were children in the family where she was?
I don't think that's the reason. The reason that she's kind of outgoing?
Yeah. Or not afraid. She's unafraid.
That's possible.
She does not exhibit fear here.
No, she certainly doesn't. Actually, that's possible. If they handled her appropriately, then she would have associated people at a young age with comfort and warmth instead of, because even the nicest snake being born, really social and outgoing, you can turn them into a very aggressive, defensive animal by not caring for them correctly.
So she's been socialized.
And of course I've taken her places, and she's very stubborn, as you can see. If she wants to go somewhere, she's gonna go there.
And this is the end of a day where she's been out all day.
She's been out for a large part of the day, yeah.
She was at the veterinary clinic all day.
She was.
So here she is, wandering around the table and experiencing it and looking around, and she's having. And as a Reiki practitioner, I not only tried, but I did. She responded positively to the Reiki. That's very interesting. She says there's heat coming off that hand and it's not touching me.
Yep.
So that's very interesting.
Oh.
So now that we have given a little introduction here, let's tell people who you are, so they won't just say there was this fabulous snake with this lady. So tell us.
I'm Casey. This is my 3rd time on this show. And I am a veterinary technician at Woodstock Animal Hospital. I've been a zookeeper before. I've worked with children, horses, and all different kinds of animals. And my greatest calling in life is definitely teaching people about these animals, like I'm doing now. She's very stubborn.
Well, she's interested. I
Yeah.
think she wants to get, down on the floor
Oh,
or
she
something.
does. She does, and she'll climb all over everything and knock everything over. And
So that's what she wants to do.
that's what she wants to do.
That's great.
She's very curious.
And I understand also that you do a little pet sitting.
I do a little here and there, yeah. I pet sit for just select few people in the area. I can't do it very often because I am very busy with my own animals. I have a farm with many rescue animals at my house, and of course my job at Woodstock Animal Hospital kind of makes it difficult for me to pet sit. But
People don't realize that when you start working with a veterinary clinic, you're going to do some pet sitting.
it's
It goes
unavoidable.
with the job.
It really does.
It goes with the job. Somebody will come in with a pet who's very particular, and that pet is going to bond with you, and they're going to go away. Well, it doesn't matter what your personal life is. You're going to be the person.
And that's
You're it.
exactly what happened. That's
Yeah.
exactly how I got my pet sitting jobs. The animals were very special to me, and I mean all of them are special to me. But there are certain ones that you just form that bond with. There's certain animals that are extremely special and just close to your heart, and you can't say no.
No, you cannot.
You can't say
because
no.
the animal's going to be miserable if you don't.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then you do wild animal rescue.
And then I am also a wildlife rehabilitator. Yes, I have.
So how does that work in your life?
Now is not really the season that we get a lot of calls. So right now, thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't gotten any calls recently. But it's kind of easy to fit into my life because mainly, thankfully, at my job, I am actually able to bring some of these animals to the job if I do need to care for them throughout the day, such as if there's an animal that needs bottle feeding or extra care. Throughout the day, I can bring it to my job and be able to keep it. But one of the biggest parts of wildlife rehabilitation is hands off. Making sure you have your hands off of the animals and keeping them as safe as possible while being alone and healing by themselves, because we don't want them to get used to human beings, because it's very important for them to maintain that healthy fear of human beings. So, once they're released back into the wild, they're not approaching people for food, thinking that people, are going to be, friendly. A lot of people do appreciate wild animals approaching them, and a lot of people do not.
Yes.
So,
They don't know.
no, they don't. So it's very important to keep the wild. So that's part of the job, is as hands off as possible if you can.
Well, I want to go now back to our guest. She was part of a family?
Mm-hmm.
And how did she go from that family to you?
I heard about her because I worked at a vet clinic in Florida, and the woman came in and said, I have this snake. Do you care for snakes? We didn't. We were a small animal practice, but we didn't do exotics and reptiles. We just did dogs and cats. And she said that her husband had left her there. And she didn't know how to care for her. She didn't know what to do with her. So she brought her in and gave her to me, and I got her nice and healthy, and it's been 3.5 years, and she's over tripled in size.
You've had her for 3.5 years. You were in Florida. So she moved from Florida to New York State with you.
Yes, she did.
And how did that go?
She was in the pillowcase the whole time.
Really?
Yep. That's actually the best way, as long as you... That's really the most reliable way that you can transport a snake. Of course, you just need to make sure the pillowcase is big enough. Constrictors like this, they spend the majority of their time curled up into a ball anyway. They're ambush predators. They sit and wait for days to weeks to months in the same spot, curled up in a ball. So, you know, them being kind of crunched into a little pillowcase, as long as it's enough to not really constrict them too much and let them be able to move around, you know, they're perfectly fine as long as they stay warm. But it's the most reliable because these guys are extremely strong. As you can see, she's essentially just one big muscle. And if I put her into a container, chances are she's going to be able to break right out of the top of that container. There was one time that she lives in a tank that has kind of a mesh top, and I have clips all over the top, and I forgot one of those clips. I have about 8 of them on top. I forgot one of them, and she knew, and she got out, and she was sitting on my wall. I had like a little like a curtain rod on my wall, and she was curled up on the curtain rod, and I happened to see her, and I was like, "What are you doing up there?"
Well, now you have other snakes.
I do.
And do you have other animals? I mean, here she was on the curtain rod in the house.
Yep.
But what other animals were there?
None really were in her reach, thankfully, but of course my cats are in the house. She's not interested in cats, as you can probably tell. But the cats, the dogs, but that's really that was it. But she didn't want to go down on the ground anyway, so nobody was in danger, thankfully. But it, you know, lesson learned, didn't happen again.
So what she did was she got out and then she went up.
Yes. And that's always what she wants to do. She's always looking to go up. Her species is semi-arboreal, which means that they spend a large amount of their time in trees. So they're always looking to climb. A huge part of their diet in the wild are birds. They like to sit in trees in a coiled S position where they kind of crunch their neck up into an S, which she's not doing for me right now. And that kind of like a coiled spring. And they hang out in trees, and they're able to shoot out in the blink of an eye to catch a flying bird. So naturally, that's always what she wants to do. She always wants to go up.
Now, you said that when you hold her by her heart?
Yeah, if I'm trying to keep her calm, I usually keep both of my hands around here. It's really right where her body starts to become thicker. You know, you can kind of see right around here is where her you know, the bulk of her body begins. And that's about where her heart is. And since she's a cold-blooded animal, the warmer she is, the happier she is. And her heart being her core and what kind of produces the most warmth in her body, that really is very comfortable for her. To have a warm, you know, sensation around her core, and keeping her warm and healthy.
Now, does she have teeth?
She does. She's got a lot of them. And she doesn't have fangs like a venomous snake would. So if she were to open her mouth right now, she wouldn't have those 2 big teeth, you know. But she does have a lot of teeth along the side of her mouth. Come here.
I have the feeling she's kind of bored.
Probably. That's okay. She's just exploring. She's like,
yeah, it's like, well, I've done this, you know, this tablecloth is kind of a dud. Let's try to find something else. Does she eat vegetables and fruits?
No, actually, snakes are...
She's carnivorous.
Completely. They're obligate carnivores. They eat absolutely nothing but entire animals. And the way that snakes eat it is very, very interesting. They do unhinge their jaw, but they don't unhinge it in the way you may think. It splits down the middle and opens like this. So each mandible splits right here and spreads. And then the skin on their chin acts as sort of, if you would think of a pelican's beak. So it kind of stretches out like a balloon and engulfs. And then the teeth, her teeth are all on the side of her face. and they all face backwards. So they're all facing towards her throat. So that in the case that she has a live animal, it's not going to be able to get out. And then they do this incredible thing when they do go to eat their food. They actually take their jaw and they walk it in. So they take each side and they kind of hook it in and sort of walk their food down their throat. And she can eat something that is bigger than the width of the fattest part of her body. So even though she's got a really tiny little head, it can swallow something bigger than the largest part of her body. And that's sort of a good...
So this is the heart up here.
Yeah, right about where my hand
And
is.
then this is the stomach.
Yep. Yep.
The fat part. That's
Stomach
the
and
stomach.
intestines, and yep. So when she swallows and she's got, like a big food item, it kind of sits down here for a little bit. You'll see it sort of move down through until it's nothing anymore, and then it just becomes part of her. And they're very efficient in utilizing absolutely everything that they eat. The only thing that they actually defecate is the fur and very small portions of the bone. And just really the only thing that they defecate is things that they cannot use themselves. Everything else is either stored or used. Extremely efficient. The bones are completely digested. The fur is almost completely digested, and they utilize everything in life. And not their metabolisms are so slow but powerful, which is why they move so slowly for the most part, is they're constantly conserving their energy. So that, they can go weeks, months without eating. Of course, she doesn't. She goes, a week or two at a time, and eats kind of small meals every now and then. But she could potentially go months without eating. And certain snake species, like pythons and this species, can potentially go into a hibernation-like state called brumation, where it gets cold, their body all but shuts down, their heart rate gets really, really low, their metabolism slows way, way down, they conserve absolutely all of their energy, and they essentially hibernate, which is how garter snakes survive throughout the winter time in New York. And I don't make her do that.
They hibernate.
Yeah, they brumate.
They dig holes.
Yeah. Yep. And
That's very interesting.
And they slow down completely. Their heart rate becomes almost non-detectable. They all but freeze, and they wake up. They thaw and they wake up in the spring.
Well, now this one does not hibernate.
Nope.
So this one is active throughout the year.
Yes.
And how did you become? What motivated you to take this snake? This woman walks into the vet clinic and says, that turkey left me, and here I am. And what made you say yes?
I'm a sucker. That's it.
I mean, did you have any interest in snakes?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So you were thinking, oh boy, something showed up here.
Yeah. Yep. Snakes are one of the first animals I ever worked with, actually. One of the first jobs I ever had after turning 18. I worked at a children's museum in Troy, and I did outreach educational programs, and I did museum educational programs with the snakes and reptiles that they had there. And they had one of her in there. Her name was Diamond. She was 9.5 feet long, and she was much bigger than her.
And this one is?
She's about 5.5 feet long.
Will she get to 9.5?
She could, absolutely. She could live up to 20 years, and they really don't stop growing. So she could very easily get to 10, 13 feet. You'll see a lot of people out there that severely overfeed these snakes. They can get to absurd sizes, upwards of 15 feet. They're really not supposed to be that big. Just because they can grow to that size doesn't mean that they should. It really cuts down on their lifespan.
Now, so you worked with the educational programs, and you would go into a school and take one?
Yeah, I'd take several.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you were to go out now, would you take several?
If I had several to take, yes, I would.
Well, you've got this one, and then you have...
And then I have my ball python, I have my bearded dragon, I have my corn snake, and then I have a bunch of farm animals.
Well, it sounds to me like you're good to go, girl.
Maybe. Yeah, I really do want to start doing that again. That's my dream. My dream is to do that for the rest of my life, is to take animals that I own around and teach people about them, because they're really misunderstood. When I was in Florida and I was doing this, they weren't my animals. I did take her around occasionally when I could, but the rest of the animals that I had weren't mine. And one of them was a Burmese python named Banana. And Banana was probably 13 feet long. Burmese python can get a lot bigger than these guys, and they're much heavier bodied. So he probably weighed 100 pounds. And I would lug him around, and he was an albino Burmese python. And
what did that mean?
When you lugging him around?
Was he white? He had no color.
So he was yellow. So yeah. So when snakes are albino, they're more of a yellowish. There are certain morphs of snakes that people have been breeding. They breed lots of colors of snakes, and you can get a white one technically, but an albino snake is yellow or pinkish. So he was yellow, which is why his name was Banana. And he was very, very large. And I really like taking him with me because in Florida, Burmese pythons are a huge threat to the natural ecosystem. There's a lot of speculation as to why this is happening. There's talk of a storm destroying a research plant which housed a bunch of these snakes. There are people that have owned these snakes that have released them into the wild. Nobody really knows why and how it's gotten to the place that it is. But the snakes, the Burmese pythons, are truly wreaking havoc on the natural Florida ecosystem, especially in the Everglades. So it was really good for me to be able to take the snake around and show them the size that these snakes can get to. And, the snake that you're buying in the pet store, that 1.5 foot long, beautiful snake that you're buying is going to get to this size. And he wasn't even full grown yet. He could easily get to 19, 20 feet. And so it was really important to me as somebody who cares about the ecosystem and cares about, the natural world to take Banana around and say, is this really what you want in your house? Is this really what you're looking for by getting that snake at the pet store? Because, not a lot of people have room to care for an animal of that size, of 110 pounds, extraordinarily powerful. They absolutely, while he couldn't eat you, he could very easily hurt you and a child very, very easily, and it takes nothing, for them. They're so strong. A gust of cold wind comes and he feels he needs to be a little bit warmer, and he decides to, hold on tighter to your child that you draped, him around the shoulders of. It's very, very dangerous to have an animal. And as quiet as she is and as great as she is, she's still a wild animal. She's the same exact thing as her ancestors in the wild currently that are living in South America. She's the exact same animal. If I were to let her out into the wild in South America, chances are she'd be fine. She's big enough and smart enough that she would probably be fine.
I think she's taking a nap now.
She probably is.
Seems to be very still. Mm-hmm. And she seems to be calm.
Yep.
So this is how she lives when she's home. Now when you come home from work, does she get out?
No. Not unless she wants to, but she'll let me know. She kind of stretches up and sort of looks at the top of the cage when she wants to get out.
And then you let her out.
And then I let her out. But I have to be careful letting her out because if she really likes to eat, so if she thinks that she's going to eat, you just have to watch her hands.
Well, so she's in the house and she has a glass cage that has a screen over, and she has a heat lamp.
She has 2
heat lamps. She has a pond, and she has a rock.
She has a rock and a log to hide under.
And a log to hide. She gets under the log.
She does.
So this is, so then where does this go with the python? They're not close together, are they?
No, they're in different rooms.
They're in different rooms.
For no real reason, it doesn't matter if they're in the same room. I just didn't have room in that room.
So I do know that when I was doing rescue in Virginia, that I did take dogs around to different classrooms. And I did talk to children about, cleaning ears and taking care of nails and things, and I would take all different kinds of dogs. So it is fun to do that. I can certainly understand why you would want to do that.
It is. It's very fun. And I was doing birthday parties. Actually, the very first show that I did in Florida, this is after I worked at the museum several years ago, but in Florida, the very first show I did was at a college. So it was a bunch of people my age, and I was just standing up there. I kind of wanted my first time to be with a bunch of children, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun. They were just as curious as kids, They were just as awestruck and just as ready to come up and touch them and just as brave. And I did the same thing with them like I did with the kids. As whenever I went to a birthday party or a school, I'd always tell the kids to take 2 fingers and pet from front to back, so from nose to tail. So 2 fingers, nose to tail, and I did the same thing with the college students, and they thought that was hilarious. But that's what you got to do sometimes, is make sure that people are gentle with your animals.
So now, at your home, you have 3 snakes now, or
Yes.
you have more?
I have 3.
You have 3 now.
Yep, and 1 bearded dragon.
Well, how did you get the bearded dragon?
That's another one where somebody told me that it needed rescuing, and I was like, well, as long as I don't have to pay for it. And so they gave it to me, and they gave me everything she needs, and I've wound up spending over $1,500 on her health. Of course, so she wasn't free.
How do you take care of her health?
Well, she has a chronic eye infection. I'm talking about the bearded dragon, not her, thankfully. But she has a chronic eye infection. I did blood work. She had a high white blood cell count, and with reptiles, as slow as they are to grow, as slow as they are to move, they're just as slow to heal. Mm-hmm. Everything takes a really long time with these guys. They're ancient dinosaurs. They like to take their time. So, I was giving eye drops for several weeks. I did fecal samples, and I gave her a lot of different supplements and medications, and her eye infection went away, and then it came back, and then I had to bring her back, and it's just, you know how it goes.
Where do you find of that?
Creature Comforts in Poughkeepsie will take reptiles. Since Dr. Hands doesn't see reptiles, which is, I get it, but Creature Comforts does. So they also are the ones that I go to for wildlife. If I need medicine for wildlife, I could bring a wild animal there, and they would care for it there.
What about birds? Do you have any birds?
Other than my chickens, ducks, and peacocks, no.
The chickens, ducks, and peacocks, they're outside.
They are outside.
And they have their own coop.
And they have their own coop.
Now, the chickens have their own coop. What about the ducks?
The ducks live with the goats and pigs, and they all sleep together.
So they're in the barn.
They're in the barn. The chickens have their own coop, but they don't sleep in the coop. They also sleep in the barn. And the peacock, he kind of runs the place. I have one peacock that's out and one that has his own coop because he's still a baby. So I haven't let him out to free range yet. But the peacock sleeps in the tree. It's pretty cool to see him in the tree, especially when it's covered in snow and it's
So when
gorgeous.
it's like when it's really cold, he's out there.
Oh yeah, he loves it.
Where did you find the peacock?
Just another rescue. A woman had them in this really tiny coop, and I mean, it's tough with peacocks because their tails are so long that, even though their bodies are not much bigger, actually they're smaller than a turkey's. Their tails are so long that, they drag on the ground, and if they're in a really small area, they can't turn around very easily because the tail is hitting everything. So she just had us come pick him up, and he's been with us ever since. He ran away twice, and we had to run down the road and catch him. But
Did you find him as he was running down the road?
oh no, we had someone call us and be like, "Your peacock's here, come get him." And we did.
That's really true. I have a philosophy that I never really shared that much with anybody, but I think an animal should be paid for once.
Yeah.
After that, no.
No.
After that, no. And of course, a lot of people wouldn't go with that program. I said, fine, I'll take him and take very good care of your, but no. Somebody, you paid for no more.
I agree with that.
There is an ethical situation there that for me, it is unethical.
I agree with that. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I do say to people that wanted to give me the snake or the bearded dragon, I say, as long as I don't have to pay for him, I will take him. Now, I say that, but then I spent $1,500 on him.
So they think the person that's involved in this thinks that you're just being cheap. But that has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely
that
not.
has nothing to do with it at all.
Mm-mm.
It's the ethics of paying for something 2 or 3 times over.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't. People like to try to guilt you into that. Well, if you don't pay me this much, then I'm going to do so and so. And
fine, go away. Yes.
Exactly. That's not on my conscience.
Right. Absolutely. That's that person.
Yeah, because I'm not cheap with my animals, and I will literally do anything for my animals.
Yeah, to take care of them.
But if you need the animal gone, I'll take him and I'll pay for anything that he needs, but I'm not going to pay for him.
Right.
I get that. I share that philosophy 100%.
That's
all of my animals.
I know that when I had dogs, I would that I was fostering, I would sometimes take a dog and then it would be several $100s for the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like nobody gets it. But that isn't the point. The point is that somebody paid for this animal first.
Mm-hmm.
That is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I agree.
So we're on the same thing.
Yeah.
So you have the bearded dragon. How big is the bearded dragon? Oh, he's a baby.
About that big? No, she's pretty big. She's like
big.
8 years old.
Oh, she's 8 years old.
She's pretty big.
Oh, you've had her a while.
Oh no, I've only had her for a few months.
Only for a few months.
Yeah, she's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's loved.
And what kind of chickens do you have?
Oh, they're just mixes. They're barnyard mixes. I had Cochins for a while, but I only have 5 or 6 chickens now. I think that's all I have now. We had kind of a rough year for chickens.
It's hard with chickens.
It is. Especially when they're rescues. You don't know how old they are. And
of
chickens
course
are
they can be attacked.
prone.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
accident prone.
they
That's
really
very
are.
true. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Turkeys
now that
also.
you've got your peacock, you've got 2 peacocks. Do you have any peahens?
I did. ran away to sit on some eggs, and she was unfortunately killed.
Oh.
But we saved her eggs, and the baby peacock is hers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
And do you have rabbits?
I have rabbits. I have a bunch of baby rabbits right now, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're very cute.
They are darling.
Oh, they're so cute.
Now, do they have a hutch or do they live in the house?
They have a whole barn.
They have a whole barn.
Yeah, they just kind of run the barn.
Run around in the barn.
Yeah.
Do you have a cat in the barn?
I do not.
You do not have a barn cat.
I do not.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
I know. I should, but I don't.
Wait till next Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, honestly, any day now.
Yeah. But so you have baby rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a particular kind? Or did they just appear?
No, I have a few different kinds. The ones that are, I do have two that aren't in the barn. Chester and Clover. Clover is a Californian, and Chester is, I think, a Flemish Rex mix, I think.
Ah.
So he's very soft. And then all the ones in the barn are Flemish New Zealand mix rabbits. So they're beautiful. My male in the barn, Bernie, is one of the biggest rabbits I've ever seen that wasn't a Flemish giant. He's all white with red eyes. And he's so sweet.
He is an Easter bunny.
He is an Easter bunny. He was supposed to be a girl, turned out to be a boy. So his name was actually Betty White. And then I found out that he was a boy, so he became Bernie. And then I have Peaches, who has 3 legs, who was given to me. Peaches, she's very sweet. She's like a dark silver color. And then I have Sasha, who is Peach's daughter, who is like a tan and gray. Yeah, she's a little odd colored, but she's beautiful.
Do you have goats?
I have goats.
How many goats do you have?
Well, I have 6 babies now, but I have 5 adults. All of the adults are rescues.
Really?
Yeah. I have Bucky, who's the male. I have Renee and Sprite, who are siblings. They are sterile because they were twins. I think they were identical twins. I'm not really sure how it happens, but I believe it's similar to like when cows have twins. The female is sterile. So that's apparently what happened with these guys. So they're rescues. They were found wandering on some road. And so we went and got them, and we found their owners, and they were like, "Well, you can keep them."
You found them.
Yep, finders keepers. Thank you. So we got them. We have Fawn, who's probably 12 years old. She's my old lady. I love her. Oh my God, she's the sweetest. She's an alpine goat. She's absolutely a darling. She truly is. She's the sweetest animal I have. And then I have Fifi, who's Fawn's first daughter. Well, at least the first. She was pregnant when she got to the farm with Fifi. And Fifi's a little brat. What do I call her? Fief the thief, because she's always trying to bully me for food, but she won't let me like pet. Well, she'll let me pet her sometimes, but she usually won't let me pet her. She just wants food. Then I have Winnie, who's also a brat. She's just very headstrong and very much what you think of when you think of a goat's personality. You think of Winnie. And then I think I mentioned Bucky, my male, who's a purebred Nigerian dwarf that was given to us by some lady who was like shutting down her goat farm operation. I don't know. But yeah, they were all given to us. And then Fifi, Fawn, and Winnie all had twins this year. So I have 6 babies.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah. So, and it's muddy right now. So
yeah.
It's
so
just,
that's the time of the year.
So it's even more. But
Well,
they're
you know,
cute. Oh my God, they're cute.
I adore goats.
They're so cute.
The goats are so wonderful, and they are so intelligent and so perceptive.
They're very stubborn.
There was a goat, physically a goat, who taught me how to communicate with animals.
I believe that.
It was like the goat knew that if he didn't do it, it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So he did it. And I'm eternally grateful to that goat for that. Because animal communication is very easy, but you have to learn.
Oh yeah.
You have to open yourself up to it.
Yes, you do.
And so for that I am so grateful.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate to be living in the Hudson River Valley, where we have plots of land where we can have these animals.
Mm-hmm. That's true. The only issue with living up here is, believe it or not, we have a selenium deficiency in our soil. It's known here in New York that we have a selenium deficiency in our soil, which can cause birth defects in goats, cows, and any other ruminants or herbivores.
Wow.
So, if you're going to have a ruminant or herbivore here, such as goats, cows, deer, make sure they are getting a selenium supplement, because it can really cause some serious issues if they don't have a supplement.
Oh my goodness.
We do give ours a supplement, but even still this year, one of the babies was born with weak joints, weak tendons. It's completely fine now. I just wrapped the leg and it strengthened up within 24 hours. It strengthened up.
And you're giving it selenium, so it's
yeah. Well, I'm giving the mom selenium, and it's getting selenium
through
from
the milk.
Through the milk, yes. So, but he's completely fine now. But I know that it was because it was a rough year for selenium. Mm-hmm. And the selenium comes from the hay, which gets grown in New York, and so you just got to make sure that you're getting it from a good farmer that knows what he's doing with his hay, and giving him that supplement year round as well.
Do you have any plans in the future for more snakes?
No plans.
No plans.
I don't plan. The snake that I want is not legal in New York.
Really?
Yeah. They actually just found one in Long Island.
Really?
I don't know if you heard about it, but they just found what's known as a reticulated python in Long Island that was 13 feet long on the side of the road. Yeah, that's the snake that I want.
So what happened to that one?
Somebody let it go.
I know, but what happened to it once they found it 13 feet long on the road?
It was already passed away.
Oh.
It was the middle of winter.
Oh.
They can't survive in something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just another example of somebody thinking that they can own a animal that can get to 25 feet long, and then once it starts growing, they realize that they can't care for it, or oh my gosh, it killed my cat, and that's just you got to think about these things before you get any animal. You really need to do before you get a dog.
People do not think.
No, they don't
at all.
No.
It's like, oh, it's so cute. Look at that! Isn't that the sweetest thing? I'll take it home. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If people thought there wouldn't be such thing as animal rescue,
that's true.
There'd be wildlife rehabilitators because wildlife needs help. But if people thought about what they were doing, there wouldn't need to be shelters. There wouldn't need to be animal sanctuaries. But they don't. The shelters are full of dogs that were too much for people, that didn't like their kids, that didn't get along with their other dog because they didn't do their research on what dog they were getting. And they're buying puppies from people who are not breeding correctly, people who are not trying to preserve breeds and instead trying to make a quick buck. And it's very, very, a good breeder is very hard to come by. Extremely hard to come by. They exist, few and far between, but and it's very difficult being in rescue.
Oh, that can break your heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it breaks animals' hearts. And that's the hardest part, is to watch that happen.
I know. I did canine rescue for 10 years in Virginia, and at the end of 10 years, I could not. It was like, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Somebody else has to do it, not me. You know?
It's hard.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing a person can do.
And
Especially an animal lover.
I had good facilities. The dogs that I took were a good match, so that when I had them, for most of the time, it worked out very well. The same thing for the cats. And I was very happy when they finally found homes.
Oh, yeah.
But it was heartbreaking.
Oh, it is. It really is.
And I had a woman in my, that I knew, who decided to do Cocker Spaniel rescue. Oh, that is the most difficult. Several times I would see her in the parking lot of the vet, and she would be crying hysterically.
Oh my God, I know.
You know, because Cocker Spaniels, they're tough.
They're not easy. And they have so many health issues.
Well, and they have personality issues.
They really do. They do. And people think Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
And, and it's not going to be Lady.
No.
It's not. I mean, I haven't met many nice Cocker Spaniels,
Right.
and I work with dogs.
There are not.
There aren't. And it's always very strange people that tend to get them too.
Yeah.
So.
And as we have come through this pandemic, I have a friend who's very, very prominent in the canine world. And she talks about how in her neighborhood, with every new house came a family that they went and found a dog, and now they're all out walking their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is this going to stick? And it's too soon to tell.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And it's a challenging thing. And dogs and cats are fairly common. You've got a selection of animals that are not.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have chickens in I have a home in Woodstock. I don't think I could have chickens.
They're hard. They're dirty.
Well, dirty or clean or whatever, I don't think.
Yeah.
And my daughter has just purchased a home in New Baltimore, and I think she could have chickens. But it's just, wow.
Yeah.
And the bunny rabbits and things, I mean,
Yeah.
those are challenges.
They are definitely challenges. And, that every different species of animal comes with their own health challenges as well.
Yes.
Like one species that I care for may, not be able to get a certain antibiotic, which is the only antibiotic I have access to. And it becomes very difficult, especially with the reptiles, because those are the ones that are very hard. It took me a long time to find Creature Comforts, to be able to take my bearded dragon to get her eye fixed. It took me a long time to find them and to be able to trust them.
She is just the cutest thing.
Isn't she?
She's sitting here, you're holding her. She's so calm and she's connected. She's had a very, what I think is a very stressful day. That's all right. I'm just here. We're having some quiet time. We're on television. And I'm just this charming. I
wonder if they can see her.
it just seems like she's just a very, very, she's very content.
She is. She is quite used to this.
She's very happy to be, And now, let me ask you something. The diamonds and things, is this what it looks like in all of them? Do they look like that?
All of the normal ones, yes, this is what they look like. And they're meant to look
So you've got this kind of tan, and then you have this dark brown and black, and then this little cream part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're saddles is what those are called.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yep, those are her saddles.
And look at how comfortable she is.
Yeah, she's very relaxed.
And I'm offering her Reiki, and she's not getting excited. She's saying, okay, I'll take some Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take some Reiki. Yeah, I'll do this.
They're very spiritual.
Well, Reiki's heat also, it's warm.
Yeah.
But I just love the way she's just kind of calmed down, you know. In the beginning, she was kind of looking all around, and now she's like, well, okay, this is fine.
Yeah. I mean, this is as close as trust, you know, as you're going to get from an animal like a snake. You know, as
well,
much as
she's very trusting.
She is. She is very trusting. And honestly, I am realistic when it comes to emotions of animals. You know, I'm realistic to what, you know, that a lot of people tend to anthropomorphize animals and make whatever they're doing into what a human would be doing
right.
if they were that animal.
Yeah.
Which is not reasonable, especially for reptiles. But I love this snake. I do. And I'm well aware that she doesn't love me back. She's enjoying my warmth and presence of me because she was raised around me being her comfort, and she's happy here as much as a snake can be happy. But I love her. I really do.
You don't think that she experiences anything spiritual regarding you?
I don't. I truly don't.
That's very interesting. I never really thought about it. I studied shamanism under Alberto Villoldo, and he put animals into 4 categories. There was a serpent, and then a bird, and a bear, and then a jaguar or something, you know. So, and to a shaman, a serpent is a very spiritual animal, because that's where the healing comes from. You know, it comes down the spine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's very interesting. But she is to me, she is content.
Yeah, she is. Now, I want to make the distinction between, I do think that she is spiritual, but not in an emotional way. I think she is nature's perfection in whatever she is. I think she is exactly what she's meant to be and exactly how she's meant to be, and she's a great example of her species, and she is perfect just how she is. But I don't, you know, and I'll never know, but I don't think that she is happy. I think that she is content and comfortable, but I don't think that she has the emotional capacity to feel happiness. But comfort, yes. Is that that's kind of a strange distinction.
I have no idea. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Do you think dogs experience happiness?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course
But you
they do.
do not think that snakes do.
I do not. I don't. I think they are so different from us. And they don't need it. You know, they don't need emotions. They just are as they are.
Because when I think of a body, I think of the physical and the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. I see 4, you know, categories. So what you're saying is this one has physical and mental,
Yeah.
but not spiritual.
Not emotional.
Not emotional, but spiritual.
Yes.
So they have 3 out of the 4.
Yeah.
They do not have.
I know that a snake does not feel sadness.
Really?
I do. They have no reason to. They have no natural reason to feel sadness.
That's interesting.
Because they don't make bonds. You know? They make associations. So she knows me as being that warm thing that gives me food, you know? She doesn't know me as Casey, the one who snuggles her. You know, she doesn't know me as mom. I truly believe that to her, I am that warm thing that brings me comfort, that I can relax with.
That's very interesting. I had not thought about that at all. So we do the mental, we do the physical, and we do the spiritual, but we do not do the emotional.
Yeah, they don't need it.
Well, do they experience fear?
I think fear, yes, because of adrenaline. And I'm not sure how much sense I'm making here, but yes, I do think that they experience fear because they need to.
We have just gotten to the heart of the matter, the most important part of the evening, and our time is up. And we just said 4 minutes.
We did that last time too.
We just did. And I know that the magic will be gone by the next time, however it is. But we're going to have to think about it. Well, listen, girl, you are just gorgeous. And we are so happy to have you. Yes. And I thank you so much. And thank you, Ellen. And let's look forward to the next visit.
Of course. Say goodbye.
Thank you very, very much.
Say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.